Your stress was never actually asking for a therapist in the first place. Sometimes it's simply asking for 7 small daily habits that quietly do a version of the same emotional processing work, without ever once being called therapy at all. In Japan, plenty of ordinary people who've never once sat on a therapist's couch still manage to process a hard day, release tension, and reset emotionally before the next morning, through 7 ordinary habits repeated so consistently they barely register as intentional. Today, I'll walk you through all 7, habits many Americans skip entirely, letting an entire day's stress simply pile up unprocessed instead, night after night, until it eventually has nowhere left to go but outward. Stay until the 7th, because it's the one that sounds the least like self-care, and it's actually doing the most emotional work of all. Habit 4 is something almost everyone has access to, and almost nobody actually uses this way. And habit 2 takes less than 5 seconds, and is skipped by nearly everyone anyway. Let's begin. Habit 1. A hot bath taken specifically to mark the end of the day, not simply to get clean. A quick shower gets a body clean in a few minutes, but a slower, deliberate soak does something different entirely. It gives the nervous system an unhurried, sensory signal that the working day has genuinely ended, and it's now safe to fully relax. Here's the mechanism behind why this matters more than it sounds like it should. Warm water raises core body temperature slightly, and the subsequent cooling afterward closely mimics the natural drop in body temperature that helps trigger deep, restful sleep later that night. In Japan, an evening bath, ofuro, is treated as a near-daily ritual, specifically for unwinding, completely separate from the quick, functional shower used simply for hygiene. The shift, when possible, take a slower, warmer bath in the evening instead of a quick shower, treating it as a deliberate transition out of the day rather than just a hygiene task. Even 15 extra minutes, spent doing genuinely nothing else, tends to produce a noticeably different quality of sleep than the same night ending with a rushed 5-minute rinse. That's habit 1. Habit 2. Naming a difficult emotion out loud, even quietly to yourself, rather than simply pushing through it silently and hoping it passes on its own. Most people treat naming a feeling as unnecessary, if not indulgent, and instead try to simply power through whatever they're feeling without ever actually acknowledging what it is. Here's why this small act of naming matters so much. Research on emotional processing consistently shows that putting a specific word to a feeling, anxious, frustrated, disappointed, measurably reduces its intensity in the brain almost immediately, a process sometimes called affect labeling. In Japan, quietly and briefly acknowledging a difficult emotion, even in a single word said under your breath, is a far more common private habit than it might appear from the outside. The shift, the next time you notice a difficult feeling building, name it specifically, out loud or silently, rather than letting it stay a vague, unlabeled weight in the background of your day. It feels almost too simple to genuinely help, and yet the relief is often immediate and noticeable. The exact moment a vague heaviness turns into a specific, nameable thing you can actually address. That's habit 2. Habit 3. Spending a few minutes outdoors specifically to notice small sensory details, rather than simply passing through outdoor space on the way to somewhere else. Most people experience the outdoors purely as a transition, the walk to the car, the path to the train, without ever actually pausing to register anything about it sensorily at all. Here's the mechanism worth understanding. Deliberately noticing small details, the specific color of the sky, a particular smell in the air, gently pulls attention out of anxious, looping thoughts and into the present moment, functioning as a kind of built-in grounding exercise. In Japan, Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, formalizes this exact instinct, treating slow, attentive time outdoors as a legitimate form of stress relief, not simply a walk from one place to another. The shift, spend even 2 or 3 minutes outside today, doing nothing but noticing sensory details, rather than walking through that same space purely on autopilot. It requires no extra time in most days, simply a different quality of attention during time you were already going to spend outside anyway, walking to the car or checking the mail. That's habit 3. Habit 4. the one almost everyone has access to and almost nobody uses this way, writing a short, honest account of the day before bed, even a few sentences, without any concern for how well it reads. A day full of emotional weight that's never externalized in any way, just continues circulating internally, replaying at low volume well after the day itself has technically ended. Here's why even a few honest sentences matter here. The simple act of translating a chaotic internal experience into concrete, ordered language appears to reduce its emotional charge, giving the brain a sense that the day has been recorded and can now be set down rather than carried forward. In Japan, brief, private evening journaling, even just a line or two, is a common low-pressure habit, treated as functional rather than literary. The shift. Write 2 or 3 honest sentences about your actual day before bed tonight, with zero concern for whether it's well written. Nobody else ever needs to read it, and it doesn't need to be insightful or articulate. It simply needs to exist somewhere outside your own head, instead of only circulating inside it. That's habit 4. Habit 5. Deliberately slowing down a meal, eating without a screen, phone, or distraction competing for attention at the same time. Most meals today happen alongside something else entirely: a show, a scrolling feed, a work email, which means an entire daily ritual that could offer a genuine pause instead becomes just another multitasking slot squeezed between other tasks. Here's the mechanism behind why this quietly matters for stress specifically. Eating without competing stimulation activates the parasympathetic nervous system more fully, the same rest and digest state disrupted by constant partial attention, meaning a distracted meal provides measurably less actual relief than an undistracted one, even if the food itself is identical. In Japan, eating without a screen present, sometimes preceded by a small verbal acknowledgement before the meal begins, is a widely maintained daily habit. The shift. Eat at least one meal today with your phone and any screen genuinely out of reach, giving that one meal your full, undivided attention. It will feel strangely quiet the first few times, almost boring, and that quiet is precisely the part your nervous system has been missing all day. That's habit 5. Habit 6. Physically tidying one small specific space at the end of the day, rather than leaving visual clutter to greet you again first thing tomorrow morning. A cluttered space left untouched overnight isn't just a chore waiting patiently, it's a small low-grade stressor that quietly gets reintroduced into your nervous system the moment you first see it again the next morning. Here's why this specific timing matters more than the tidying itself. Ending the day with even one small space visibly reset provides a genuine sense of completion, a signal that today's mess, at least in one place, was actually dealt with rather than simply carried forward into tomorrow. In Japan, a brief, specific end-of-day tidying ritual, often just one surface or one room, is a common and unremarkable evening habit. The shift: pick one small space each evening and reset it completely before bed, treating that reset as part of closing out the day itself. It doesn't need to be the whole house. One counter, one desk, one nightstand is enough to give tomorrow morning a genuinely clean starting point instead of picking up exactly where the mess left off. That's habit 6. And habit 7, the one that sounds the least like self-care and is actually doing the most emotional work of all, physically moving your body for a few minutes specifically when you feel emotionally stuck, rather than staying still and trying to think your way out of a difficult feeling. Here's the counterintuitive part. Difficult emotions are held partly in the body, not purely in the mind, and trying to resolve a stuck feeling through thinking alone, while staying completely physically still, often keeps you circling the exact same thoughts without any genuine release. In Japan, a short walk specifically taken to shift a difficult mood, rather than to reach a destination, is a common, almost automatic instinct when someone feels emotionally stuck. The shift. The next time you feel stuck in a difficult emotion, move your body deliberately for a few minutes, a short walk, some stretching, before trying to think your way through it further. It feels almost counterproductive in the moment, like you're avoiding the feeling instead of confronting it, when in reality the movement is often exactly what lets the feeling finally shift, instead of staying stuck in the same tight loop. That's habit 7. And it's quietly the release valve that makes the other 6 actually land. So here's everything in one breath. Take a bath to mark the day's end. Name difficult emotions out loud. Notice small sensory details outdoors. Write a few honest sentences before bed. Eat one meal without a screen. Reset one small space each evening. And move your body when a feeling gets stuck. Now, as promised, here's a quick way to see which of these 7 you need most right now. Think of the last time you felt emotionally overwhelmed and simply pushed through it without processing it at all. Ask yourself honestly, which of these 7, done in that exact moment, would have actually helped release some of that weight, instead of simply carrying it forward into the next day. None of this requires a therapist, a wellness app, or a single dollar spent on anything at all. It requires 7 small daily habits, most of them costing only a few minutes, that quietly give your nervous system a genuine chance to process a day rather than simply survive it. Pick just one of these 7 to try tonight, the one that felt most doable to imagine actually doing. Add a second next week, and a third the week after that, until processing a hard day simply becomes part of how your evenings work, without you ever needing to consciously remind yourself to do it. Most people who eventually feel noticeably lighter never get there through one big cathartic breakthrough. They get there by quietly closing out one ordinary day at a time, instead of letting each one pile silently onto the last. By the end of a month, most people find their evenings feel noticeably lighter, not because anything about their actual circumstances changed, their job is still demanding, their days are still hard, but because the day is finally being genuinely processed each night instead of simply endured and carried forward. You don't need fewer hard days. You need a nervous system given an actual chance to close each one out properly. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 do you already do without ever quite realizing it? And which one have you genuinely never once tried in your entire life? Tell me the number in the comments, and be honest. The one you've never tried is usually the one you need most, not the least. And if this changed how you think about processing a hard day, send it to whoever you know is currently pushing through everything silently and quietly, calling it being strong. We'll see you in the next one, hopefully with a lighter evening ahead of you.